nakatira sa Mirinesa, reporter 4.8, and the topic that I will report is taxation in Spanish Philippines. So, I will discuss first what is taxation. Taxation in simple meaning is the practice of collecting taxes, money from citizens based on their earnings and property. And now, I will proceed to the main contents of my topic, which is taxation in Spanish Philippines or taxation during Spaniards. The arrival of the Spaniards altered this subsistence system because they imposed the payment of tributes from the Filipinos, similar to what had been practiced in all colonies in America. The purpose is to generate resources to finance the maintenance of the islands, such as salaries of government officials and expenses of the clergy. When Spaniards came, they started to collect tributes, the word tributes. The purpose of it is to develop and improve the islands and to maintain it as well. Also, the collect tribute is for the government official's salary and for the expenses of the clergy. If you're not familiar with the word clergy is pastor or pari. Exempted from the payment of tributes were the principals, alcaldes, gobernadors, cabezas de barangay, soldiers, member of the civil guard, government officials, and vagrants. When we say vagrants, it is a person without a settled home or work, who wanders from place to place and live by begging. So, vagrant is ito yung taong lagalag or taong padaboy. And this kind of person is exempted from the payment of tributes. The Filipinos who were once satisfied with agricultural production for subsistence had to increase production to meet the demands of payment, and a more expensive agricultural system had to be introduced. Later on, half of the tribute was paid in cash and the rest with produce. This financed the countries of the Philippines. The Filipinos have gotten satisfied with the production of agriculture. Later on, half of the tribute was paid in cash and the rest with produce. Toward the end of the 16th century, the Manila-Acapulco trade was established through the galleons, a way by which Spaniards could make sure that European presence would be sustained. Once a year, the galleon would be loaded up with merchandise from Asia and sent to New Spain and back. This improves the economy of the Philippines and reinforced the control of the Spaniards all over the country. Tax collection was still very poor and subsidy from the Spain would be needed. This subsidy stopped as Mexico became independent in 1820. 16th century Manila-Acapulco trade, the galleon trade, the Spanish government continued trade relations with the countries, and during the galleon trade, forced labor was character of Spanish colonial taxation and was required from Filipino. Male Filipino were obligated to serve, which resorts to death in 17th century. Males are required to provide 40 days per annum. In 1884, the payment of tribute was put to a stop and was replaced by a poll tax collected through a certificate of identification called the Cedula Personal. This is required from any resident and must be carried while traveling. Unlike the tributes, the payment of cedula is by person, not by family. Payment of cedula is progressive and according to income categories. The Chinese in the Philippines were also made to pay the discriminatory cedula, which was bigger than what the Filipinos made. 1884, the payment of tribute was put to a stop because of cedula. So, in cedula, the payment is by person and according to income categories. For example is wages or compensation of employees, Two direct taxes were added in 1878 and imposed in urban income. Urbana is a tax on the annual rental value of an urban real estate, and industrial is a tax on salaries, dividends, and profits. These taxes were universal and affected all kinds of economic activity except agriculture, which was exempt to encourage growth.
Indirect taxes, such as custom duties, were imposed on exports and imports to further raise revenue, especially during the 19th century when economic growth increased exponentially. There were no excise taxes collected by the Spaniards throughout the years of colonialism. The colonial government also gained income from monopolies, such as the sale of stamped paper, manufacture and sale of liquor, cockpits and opium, but the biggest of the state monopolies was tobacco, which began in 1781 to 1882. Taxes during the Spanish period was compulsory. All the Spanish colonies in America and the Philippines were required to pay taxes for two reasons. Tributo was a general tax paid by the Filipino to Spain which amounted to 8 reals. Sanctorum was a tax amount of 3 reals. Donativo was a tax amount of 1/2 real. Caja de Comunidad was a tax amount of 1 real. Servicio Personal, also called Polo y Servicios, was a form of Portuguese forced labor. There are several revolts that are against the implementation of tax by the Spanish authorities. The Cagayan and Dingras Revolts 1589, Sumuros Revolt, Maniagos Revolt, and Malong's Revolt. And that's all. Thank you!